Hi everyone, how are you doing? It's Amanda. Today is the 16th of August 2020 and we're going to drop a few truth bombs in this video and have a little bit of a chat and also group hug. I do want to raise some quite important points, I think, but the first thing I want to just note is the energy of today. I've just been playing some really beautiful meditation music and just getting myself into the right space to be able to do this video because the energy is quite brutal at the moment, and two cards that I just pulled as I started this video sort of say it all. We've got the Nine of Wands and we've also got the Four of Swords, as though something is so close to being achieved, but yet we need to have a pause and a respite. I keep hearing a phrase in my head that there is no advancing beyond this point until we get a few things sorted and understand some spiritual principles that are so important if we are going to advance beyond this certain level that we're at as a species. And a lot of people are stuck, not everybody. A lot of you who are watching me know what I'm trying to convey in my videos, but some people are compartmentalising it and getting it when it suits. And then at other times when you bring up a subject that might be controversial, such as politics, which was my last video, all of that understanding seems to go out of the window, and we're back to the start line, it almost feels like. We're not, because we've already run a lot of the race, but we're hitting some really big stumbling blocks. It's very interesting that every time that I do a political video, there's always a few comments that come in along the lines of, why are you doing them? We don't want you to do them. Don't do them. And also, I thought this was a spiritual channel. Why are you even touching on anything that's remotely political or about social justice, for example? And that's because people are compartmentalising and thinking that the spiritual path and all that it teaches and the principles of it, linked into non-judgment, forgiveness, compassion, understanding, love, don't apply when it comes to talking about politics. But truly, all parts of life are an expression of spirit. And so to think that we can behave in a certain way in one situation, but yet put our spiritual hat on in another, really makes a mockery of our divine essence, which wants us to do it all of the time, as much as we can. None of us are perfect. All of us fall down. All of us are guilty of sometimes slinging the mud, as I called it in my last video. All of us. But the trick is to know when you've done it, to step back and learn from it, to apologise, and to move on. This is why Metatron keeps talking about there's no advancing beyond this point. And I want to really talk about this today because it's something that's come in on the back of the Lionsgate work that we did, and indeed the Lionsgate portal. Now, those of you on Facebook, I'm still on Facebook for the time being, although I am reviewing my presence there, as I keep saying. I put a very short little video up on Friday where I'll just bring people up to speed, only take 30 seconds, or maybe a minute, where I was basically shown that there was a backlog of people trying to get through the Lionsgate still because remember, time is not linear. It didn't just close on the 8th. It didn't close on the 12th, when usually the Lion's Gate portal closes in linear time. I was being shown a great big backlog of people that hadn't yet made it through. And what I'm now being shown is that some people did make it through that gateway. And if you remember, we were all asked, myself included, to empty out our pockets of any lower energy. And that includes our words, our actions, and what more than anything, what we hold inside us, who we are being. So some have been sent back round to go back through it because they've been found out for having shown their pockets were empty, but it's a bit like contraband having been taken through. Okay, so there's a bit that's been hidden here, a bit that's been hidden there. It might be linked into any lower energy. Okay, any lower energy. Now, please, 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 this isn't about being perfect, as I keep saying. It's about trying to hide our shadow. So those of us that are, sorry, it's my friend calling. Those of us that are really, truly trying to walk this path are having to face our shadow. That's always been the case. So, and it often isn't pretty. It often isn't pretty. It can be jealousy. It can be aggression. It can be rage. It can be envy. It can be lust. It can be greed. It can be judgment. It can be many, many things. But yet we see it and we try and work on it. Many of you are doing that. I'm talking about people either within our community, a lot of whom aren't even watching me, to be perfectly honest. But, we are a collective, so we're affected by what other people are doing, as well as being affected by other people in our lives. And these people are almost sort of trying to cheat their way through. They're wanting to go through the portals, receive the upgrades and the blessings and the downloads, as well as being gifted by spirit other things that they want. So to that we could add in, for example, proof of galactics. Okay, when are they going to show up and help us? Which effectively is often a way of saying, when are they going to show up and do the work for us? Okay, they're not, by the way. They'll show up, but they'll show up when we've done the work. So some people are trying to sort of slip through these portals, and then it's when the first test arises, all of the old stuff comes up, and it's not love, and it's not light, and it's not compassion, and it's basically not 5D. I've experienced a lot of that thrown at me as a result of having done, and I knew I was going to, so I was prepared for it, but it's still disappointing when you see it. The last video, which, yes, of course, is controversial in nature, but to be honest, I could have taken any political leader around the world and done a video on them, and there would have been a division, maybe not quite as great as that in the USA, but there would still have been division. Look at any country, Australia, UK, Canada, wherever, okay, there is division. And what we have to do is get to a place where we can agree to disagree, be civil with each other, and do so in a fifth dimensional way. And as an example, somebody this morning put a comment and they were basically implying that I was blocking all of the comments that disagreed with what I had said. I'll come back to what I had said, because actually it was me reading energy, not actually my opinion. But anyway, and it's really unfair because I haven't done that. And what I was trying to explain is that what you're seeing on my channel is a pretty good reflection of basically what came in via that video. So there was a lot of support for what I said. There were also people that were saying, I don't agree. I won't be voting for that particular duo. I'll be voting for Trump. But I've listened to what you've had to say. Thank you. Interesting. Whatever. To those people, I say, really well done. Really well done. Okay. But yeah, you know, what I basically replied to this lady was, the people that are being blocked on this channel, the comments that are not getting through are people who are slandering others, whether that be Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, anybody, absolutely anybody. Slander is actually a crime, and there is a legal process that has to be gone through to prove that anybody is anything. Okay, that's why we have law and order. And we will have for the time being. Now, it might not be perfect, but we do have a judicial system in all countries. So to go online and behind a keyboard and slander others, whatever their political persuasion, is not in my book. So I won't allow that, because I don't think that is fifth dimensional behaviour or energy, to be allowing language which is slanderous and often unsubstantiated. Now, even if you think it is substantiated, there is still the legal process. I also explain that I don't allow comments on where people are arguing and being offensive to each other. There's a lot of that sometimes goes on. I woke up this morning and there was a few comments. People were coming back at each other, and it was getting a bit vicious. And I thought, to be perfectly honest, I haven't got the time for this. So I deleted them. People have had their say, move on. I also don't allow comments that are offensive, rude, disrespectful. To me, it's not 5D. What I'm trying to demonstrate, not just with my videos, but with the way that we conduct ourselves on this channel, is to try to live in 5D. Not just for it to be a theoretical concept that is talked about, and then it's a free-for-all in the comments. There are, sadly, other spiritual practitioners and teachers out there that are allowing anybody to say anything in their comment section, literally anything. And what Metatron is saying is there needs to be a referee. Okay, he's giving me the game of rugby. So in the UK, you understand rugby. It's quite a tough game. I've never played it, but you know, it's you have to actually plaster back your ears, because your ears get bitten in the scrum, or maybe they did in the old days. I don't know. Baseball, soccer, football, any game that you can think of where there's a bit of physical contact. A referee is there for a purpose. When two sides can't always behave themselves. I'm sorry, but it's just the way that it is. You see it on a football pitch, and it's as though those rules don't apply in social media. I've seen some terrible, terrible stuff in other comment sections of other channels recently. Really disturbing links to sites with various bits of information. And what we have to also be aware of is people who are just waking up, who haven't got the tools, haven't got the protection, haven't got the understanding necessarily of even why certain things are being exposed at the moment. So we have to be spiritually mature about this, and there has to unfortunately be a referee. So that's why I moderate comments on my channel. I'm not trying to close down discussion. I'm not siding on any particular side. I couldn't have made it any clearer with regards to politics. And I can only talk from my own personal experience in the UK, and I've said this over and over again. I have genuinely voted for every party there is going of the, I obviously haven't voted for the Nazi party or anything, but I voted for the Conservatives, I voted for the Liberals, I voted for Labour, I voted for Green. I've done all of it. So I'm not affiliated to any one particular political persuasion. So I actually think I make quite a good referee. And when I come into doing a reading on something such as politics, I'm coming in and I am reading the energy. I'm just reading the energy. You might not like how the energy reads. That's absolutely fine, but that's all I'm doing. Okay? Now, let's go back to this point about Metatron saying about there's no advancing beyond this point until we get to a place where we can be respectful of each other. And actually, if you've made it through a portal or a gateway, for example, Lionsgate, and you found yourself, do you remember we were in like that sort of Eden-like place? Well, what he's showing me now is that some people have sort of gone through that portal almost under false pretenses, because as soon as the first test came and you mention a trigger word, people are picking up the mud and throwing it at each other. That's not what this consciousness is about. It's about putting down the mud, and it's about trying to find common ground with each other. It's about trying to find common ground with each other, guys. I'm going to give you a little story here as an example. And it is a political example, but it's quite a good one, I think. So online, when you watch videos such as mine and other channels, you'll see a lot of people arguing some of the time. But what I'm asking you to do is try and seek the common ground with the person that you are opposing in terms of their view, and start to see them as an aspect of you. And that if you're feeling defensive about something that they are saying, look at what that is. What's that trying to show you? We all mirror each other. We all have something to learn from each other. You know, when I was in the USA, it was only last year, it feels an awfully long time ago, but I was in the USA last November with Tracy, and on our way back, we were queuing to drop off our bags at the baggage drop. And there was about 5 of us in a queue, and it was quite slow. And we were getting towards the head of the queue, and this guy came up to us, who was obviously American, and he'd heard Tracy and I talking in our British accents. And he said, I want to tell you, no, he said, what do you think about Donald Trump? And we were like, oh, to be honest, we didn't even really want to have the conversation. It was like, you know, a rather antisocial hour of the day, I seem to remember. We were tired. We had a really long journey in front of us. So I don't think we actually said much, but before we even had a chance to say anything, he came at us. But he was respectful, and he was just trying to give his opinion as to why he liked Donald Trump, why he felt that people supported him, and he wanted us to know as Brits. And so we listened to him. And I can't even remember what he said now, basically, but it was quite an interesting conversation. We had a couple of laughs. There was no need for fisticuffs. We found common ground. And it's in those, that's what I'm really trying to say, because when you're arguing with somebody online, what you actually have got to do is try and take it out into the real world and imagine that you're actually standing beside somebody who is, for example, a Democrat or a Republican or a Conservative or a Labour supporter, or take it into how it manifests in your country, and start to just see them as people and start to try to understand and to listen to each other, even if it ends up that you agree to disagree. There's something about hiding behind a keyboard that seems to be bringing out the worst in people. But I do feel it needs addressing because we're in an online world. And how we behave in real life, and if we're on a spiritual path, hopefully we're trying to practice fifth dimensional qualities and abilities. That also needs to come into the online forum as well. We can't compartmentalise it. It's almost, what Metatron's saying is it's as though as a species we're still healing from that old paradigm, which I grew up with as well, which is on a Sunday you went to church and you said your prayers, and I didn't go to a Catholic church, so we didn't sort of ask for forgiveness for our sins necessarily, but you know, we put on our Sunday best, we went to church, and then there was definitely an energy of, oh, okay, right, so you know, that's it for another week. I think this is still pervading the spiritual community, but in a different way. And I think what people are thinking is, I can just put my spiritual hat on in certain circumstances and for certain subjects. But yet, if I run up against somebody that says something that is contrary to my narrative that I hold true, I have to revert back to an old way, an old 3D way, which is where the fear and the aggression and the name calling comes from. If you're calling people names, it's that thing about, you know, when you point a finger, there are 10 at somebody, there are 10 pointing back at you. And if we could only remember that, I think we would really start to slowly change our world. One of you on my channel, I think you're called Zachary. You're a young guy anyway, I can see you in my mind's eye. And I really loved your comment in particular on the Biden video. And you said something along the lines of, look, you know, it was very much like the energy of a referee. It was like, look, you know, these people probably, I don't know, think you actually did say this, but what you were trying to say is that each person or the people from either party, none of them are perfect because they are representations of us. And we are not perfect. So, because they're reflections of us. So the more that we try and work on ourselves and improve ourselves, genuinely improve ourselves, and try and actually walk our talk, we are going to see manifested examples of leaders who are of a higher grade. It is that simple, okay? This thing about one camp being, you know, the answer and the other camp being not, or one camp being light and one camp being dark, is so 3D, guys. It's so 3D. I'm saying this as gently as I can and as it's coming from my heart, this, because I think most people are hopefully nodding in agreement, but some have already left the building and aren't even listening to the message, okay? I probably lost about 100 subscribers that last video, which is fine. They weren't ready for the message. They weren't ready for this message that I'm trying to deliver now, which is if you put opposing, it's the whole thing about, you know, one side's light, one side's dark. They're not. Both are a representation of light and dark, okay? Because we all have light and dark within us. There is no such thing as an unflawed candidate, political candidate on our stage. And if you think there is, and that one person is like the shining light, whether they're in America, China, India, Ireland, wherever, you are wrong. And that is almost like a saviour complex that's coming up in our midst. And the saviour complex is that thing where we're putting all of our focus onto one person to save us. We are the ones that save ourselves. The human race gets saved by us. It gets saved by our energy. Okay, so the more that you can work on yourself and stay in alignment with love and truth, the more you're going to see that reflected on the world stage with our leaders. And the political game itself will become clearer, cleaner, and something where we can look to our leaders and be genuinely proud of them, and we'll effectively we'll get to the unity energy, which is where they're all working together. The political parties will be working together. Another one of you in the comments today, you wrote, fear is just an absence of love. And it is, isn't it? Fear is just an absence of love. When we're fearful of anything, if we are challenged in terms of something that we believe, and we go into a rigid, inflexible energy that wants to attack because we're hearing something that's contrary to what we think, that's a fear-based response. Love never closes its ears, basically. Love never closes its ears. Love always is open to hear anything. And I'm being shown the energy of Christ here beside the two, villains on the cross beside him. He had the two robbers, didn't he? There were three crucifixes. He was in the middle, and he had a robber, I think, to his right, a robber to his left, and his ears were open to hear them, to talk to them, to converse to them. He saw the divine in them. So love always has its ears open, and love is always able to see light in another person, whether they are Joe Biden, Donald Trump, or Mrs. Jones down the street, who happens to be very cantankerous, but actually there's a reason maybe why she is like that, and actually she has a side of herself which is actually very beautiful, very giving, and she does her little bit for the world. Okay. So yeah, let's just try and sum this up. Okay, the other thing I heard Metatron say this morning is stop who goes there. Stop who goes there. And what he said to me is, this is something, you've heard of the technique in terms of breathe to 10. When you're triggered by something or challenged by something, we have to breathe to 10. We try to. We don't always remember in the heat of the moment. I'll come to the heat of the moment in a moment, because yes, I know sometimes we lose it. But this is what we're going to try and aspire to do. We try and breathe. We count to 10 before we respond. And usually when you just respond without even counting to 10 or breathing, you're going to come at somebody from a very triggered place, which isn't actually your higher place. Okay, it's not a place where you've just gathered your thoughts for one moment. So stop who goes there. What Metatron is saying is that your light or is that your shadow that's showing itself? So in the moment where anybody else says something where you might not like what I'm saying, stop who goes there. Is that your light? Is that your shadow? If it's your shadow, what Metatron's actually wanting you to do is do that, which is actually face it, okay? Stop who goes there. Is that my light? If that's my light and I can respond from that, brilliant, shine it. Stop who goes there. Is this my shadow coming up, which is my unhealed wounds, which is why I want to flail out at you? Turn it back, look at it, face it. Face it, heal it. Okay, go into it. Why am I so triggered by that? Why am I so needing to spew hatred at that? Why am I needing to attack you for being different, having a different narrative? Okay, so I think that's quite important. The other thing that came to me this morning is my work with the Heart Squad. I believe that a lot of them were taken out, okay? This next week, I'll be doing a special with Michael Jackson and Princess Diana, both of whom absolutely were taken out, I believe. Okay, you can agree to disagree, okay? We don't have to fight about that. It's just opinion. It's my opinion, having read their energy, okay? But also maybe some others of the Heart Squad that I believe were taken out. Now, say you believe that, and you then have to ask yourself, well, why were they taken out? Okay. So if you look at the Heart Squad and the people that it applies to, John Lennon would be another one, JFK, when you actually look at the narrative of their life and you look at what they were trying to say, they were trying to talk about love. They were trying to bring in a healing energy to our world. But they were very much going against the narrative of their day. So they were taken out. Can you not see that there's a mirror aspect that's going on here, where when somebody says something that is against your narrative, you actually do try and just take them out. You don't take them out in terms of a gun. What you do is you take them out with your words. You take them out with your back. You take them out with negative energy. Sometimes you take them out with psychic attack. I hope nobody ever does that here on this channel, because that comes back at you tenfold, believe you me. You know, it's a really bad thing to ever do to anybody. But, you know, again, a lot of what's going on in our collective community at the moment is about trying to uncover truths, uncover crimes, uncover things that where people have been taken out and who did that. But then you ask yourself, well, why? It's because they were going against the narrative. But yet, when somebody goes against the narrative of what you might be comfortable with, you are trying to take them out in another way. Okay? So let's not do that to anybody. Let's try not to do that to anybody. Okay? We're not going to get it right 10 times out of 10. We're just not. But even if we can try and have an awareness that it's there, it's something that we need to work on. Stop who goes there. Is it my light? Is it my shadow? You've said something that really triggers me. Actually, I now need to look at it. I now need to look at that. I don't need to take you out because you've said it. I need to just look at it. What do I need to work on within me? Okay. I will talk about times when we lose it, because we're living through a couple of months now of Mars in Aries. Very fiery combination, Mars in Aries. So, but in many ways this is perfect, because 2020 is a year with the opportunity for massive upgrade. Your souls, if you could see your souls, they're like pigs in mud, you know, they are just so happy at a higher level. Okay, higher level. Don't shoot me for saying that. Okay, don't get triggered by that. What I'm trying to express is that the soul is rolling up its sleeves at the challenges that are being presented and saying, okay, I'm going to have to dig really, really deep now. I'm going to have to dig really, really deep. What have I got within me to counter these challenges in our midst? Okay. What can I come up with? What can I learn from this? How can I adapt? I gave an example on Friday on Facebook about, you know, the young kids in our world, in the England on Friday, I think it was Thursday, you know, all of the A-level results came out and they're much lower than a lot of the predicted grades. There's a lot of kids who are really struggling. They haven't got the grades. The university places aren't always there. University life itself is going to be very, very different this year. Lots of kids are falling through the net, as it were. And I said, it's going to create such resilience in them, such strength. They're going to bounce back from this. They're going to find out what they're made of. This generation, this millennial generation, are really going to, be challenged, but are going to find some hidden gold within themselves. Okay, so that's just one example. But back to what I'm saying about Mars in Aries. So this fiery energy, 2020, the year where we're having to dig deep. But yet we have an amazing opportunity to evolve beyond a point where we ever have. No advancing beyond this point is what Metatron's saying. No advancing beyond this point. 2020. This is the watershed moment where we have to walk the talk in all areas of life, not compartmentalise it. We've got to start looking at each other as brother and sister, finding the common ground. But yeah, there will be moments though, because you're a human being and I'm a human being, where you blow, okay? You blow. When you blow, you don't go into judgment of yourself for having done it. What Metatron's saying is it's what you do most of the time. Now, I had a moment when I blew in that last video, the Biden-Harris video, and I won't go back into it, but about 3 minutes I got angry at some feedback that was coming in as I was recording it. And I actually didn't feel at all guilty for that moment, because it actually showed raw passion and I meant it. I meant it at the time. But equally, I wasn't in such a calm space as I am now, for example. I got some condemnation for that, from women in particular, interestingly. It's the thing about seeing a woman angry isn't very acceptable, maybe. But remember, those of you that have been watching me a while, we've been talking about a woman's rage will change the world. But yet it needs to be a quiet rage. It needs to be a rage that is controlled and not out of control. But yeah, so a few people attacked me for it. But do you know who came to my defence? Other than some of you. There was a particular ascended master that came to my defence very quickly when I just went into a bit of a a particular comment came in, and straight away the energy of Christ was with me. And Christ reminded me of when he threw all of the tables over in the temple, and he threw out the money sellers from the temple, okay? And the blind rage, he says, that he went into at that moment. And he said, if you had seen me during that episode, it wasn't the same energy as the one who was walking over the water, walking on water, He wasn't the gentle Christ. He wasn't the lamb. He had a moment where he had to rage, and he raged hard, but he did it for a reason. He did it to make a point, and then he went back into alignment. He didn't stay in that fiery place. I didn't stay in the fiery place I was in either at the end of that video. In fact, I wasn't even in that fiery place by the end of the video. It lasted not even 5 minutes probably. So it's this thing about bringing ourselves back into alignment. There are reasons why we get fired up. There are reasons why we're triggered. We're sort of meant to go through this experience, but try to see it as, it's a bit like going to the gym. It's a bit like going to a gym and honing your muscles. So what we're doing here is when you're triggered or challenged, you are coming up against a piece of equipment which is helping you to dig deep and go into a place of alignment, okay? And again, not going back into 3D behavior of he said this, she said that, you're this, you're that, whole load of slander, whole load of hate, okay? Whole load of darkness. That's not helping anybody. It's not helping you. It's particularly not helping you. So, going back into alignment as much as we can is just so important at this point, because without it, we're going to find it really hard to advance beyond this point. Now, when I say not advancing beyond this point spiritually in terms of our development, it doesn't mean that you won't still keep learning. What I'm being shown is you're just going to be going round and round in a circle. So it's a bit like a maze. I'm being shown a maze. If you can't let go of the judgment most of the time, if you can't let go of the need to attack others most of the time, if you can't let go of the ego that needs to be right most of the time, you're going to find yourself back in a maze. Now, you'll still keep learning something because you're going to be walking round and round the same maze, and you are going to see different things each time you go round the same maze, okay? Something you hadn't noticed about yourself, something you hadn't noticed about the other. Spirit are saying sometimes they're going to leave, a little note in the hedge of the maze, or they're going to leave a book or a piece of information or wisdom that you're meant to find on the, 33rd journey round the maze. Interesting, I mentioned a master number there. So sometimes we have to keep going round and round in circles because we don't get it the first time, okay? We just don't get it the first time. But for some of us, and particularly a lot of people on this channel, because I do think there's some really high vibe people on this channel, and I really, really honour you, and I see you. I see it in the comments. I really honour you. I know I'm also including in that the people that put their hands up and say, I fouled up there. You know, I didn't get it. I was triggered. I completely and utterly honour you. You know, that's the people doing the really hard work, who are basically, stop who goes there. They're seeing their shadow. Oh, okay, right, yeah, need to go a bit deeper. So for those of us that are here to really try and break out of that matrix, which is effectively what it is, break out of the maze, we're being gifted this opportunity this 2020, but only if we genuinely have emptied out of our pockets all of those toxic words and energies that we're wanting to fling at other people. Whether it's, as I say, Mrs. Jones down the road, or whether it's somebody, you know, in a position of politics or anybody else, okay? Because, and it's not the same as not calling people out for bad behaviour, okay? I'm not saying that it's not, you know, it's fine to call people out when they've done something wrong, because that's how you bring change in and you bring awareness in. It's a balancing act, isn't it? It's when it tips over into vitriol, and you can tell it. I mean, to be honest, anybody that is an empath, anybody that's sensitive, anybody that's gone beyond a certain point on their spiritual path, you've only got to hear somebody's words or read somebody's words, and it's like you can actually feel the energy that's behind it. Is it coming from a place of genuinely wanting to help to change the world and make it a better place? Thank you, Michael. Or is it coming from a much lower vibrational place, okay? Which is just, I'm going to spew a load of hate because I want to. And do you know what? It makes me feel better, because then it just makes me feel better having got that out of my system. That's so not part of the spiritual path. Metatron's also wanted me to talk to you a little bit about two chakras in particular. The throat chakra, which we'll end on, but he's also wanted me to talk about your solar plexus. Because the truth is that those of us who are strengthening our core, and I'm talking about the solar plexus chakra, which is right in the stomach, the digestive part of the body, if we are strong in our core, we're not going to be knocked off balance by any, you know, sentence that somebody utters, or one thing that somebody does that, you know, just makes us leave the building. I had people literally leave the building, leave this channel, who, you know, made a real point about, you know, I've been following you for 5 years and I cannot follow you anymore because of what you've said in this video. Fine, that's fine. Thank you for following me for 5 years is what I want to say to that, you know. But yeah, there's the door. If I've triggered you that much, it's probably better to leave. Actually, Metatron's saying what a lot of them are doing is going into a cooling off area. But anyway, the point is, what I'm trying to say is that if you've got a strong core, you don't need to do that. You just don't need to do that, because where we need to get to is a strong core. But yet we also have to have flexibility within that core, okay? It's a bit like being the willow. It's a bit like being a willow tree. A willow tree can be really strong, and it can withstand all sorts of things, you know, all sorts of, it can also withstand the winds of change. And the winds of change are also about hearing things that might be contrary to the narrative and the script that you've grown up with, the narrative and the script that you hold very tightly to your chest, which is also linked into identity, that I am a Republican, that I am a Democrat, that I am a Christian, that I am a whatever, you know, that I am this. It's like, just the willow allows the wind to come around it, for it to, you know, for its beautiful branches to flow and flutter, but yet it can come back to its truth. Maybe you will always be a Republican. Maybe you will always be a Democrat. You're allowed to be. You're allowed to be anything that you want to be in this world. That's the truth. But you also need to be able to hear other perspectives. And that's the wisdom of the tree that comes through from that place. Okay? Because Metatron's saying Eden is made up of many beautiful things, but they all have he's saying they are all, it's like he's shown me this garden, and the plants are, oh, this is interesting. Okay, so you gardeners amongst me, you might understand this analogy more than me. He's talking about plants that have been brought into Eden that weren't indigenous necessarily to the air, to the land. So what he means by that is that anybody can get into Eden. It's got nothing to do with race, by the way, or colour or anything like that. He's just talking about what's within you. You can enter Eden in whatever, whoever you are, whatever you've been, whether you've been the sinner, whether you've been the robber on the cross, go back to the energy of Christ. And you can be in Eden, and you can plant yourself, and you can put roots down, and you can grow, and you can thrive in that environment, which is a high vibrational environment. All you've got to do is want to do it, and to abide by the code. It's like a code that is there. It's a fifth dimensional code. I wrote the words to a fifth dimensional code. Funnily enough, they just happen to be on the top of here. I did out my, I had a sort out of my files. So maybe I need to just end with the fifth dimensional code from Metatron. I'll read it to you. But I want you might have already heard this before. I've done it in other videos, but I want you to truly, truly listen to it this time, and to take it in as an energetic download and frequency. And it becomes like a blueprint. It becomes like a blueprint so that we can be this. Not just say that we're 5D and we're spiritual people and we're on our path because we do yoga or we use crystals or a spray or say a prayer or go to church. No, we are fifth dimensional beings because we are that. We are that in our depths of our soul. I also just wanted to mention the throat chakra because there's this thing about speaking up and speaking up from a place of love. Okay, speaking up from a place of love. I truly believe that we can talk about any subject in our world, however difficult, however challenging, however dark, as well as however beautiful, if we're using the language of love. And we need to get to the language of love to be able to talk to each other in this energy of Eden through the Lion's Gate. And why there's that great big backlog of people that haven't yet made it through is because they're not wanting to let go of the language of hate and the language of division and the language of separation. You have to talk, or try to talk most of the time, with the language of love. Again, don't think you've got to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. But if we can put our hands up and say, I'm willing to try, I want to be a better man, a better woman. This phrase keeps coming to me over and over again. That's what's being asked. But the throat chakra is being upgraded. Again, I've said it in a few videos recently, the chakras are all upgrading. I've still got the upgrade going on of my ears, opening up to more frequencies. Throat chakra being upgraded, third eye being upgraded for some people. But you'll know. So let me end with this, and thank you for listening to me. Thank you for those of you that get it. Those of you that get it, like and subscribe. I don't often say that, but please do, because it helps for these messages to get out there. Because there's a lot of people that aren't wanting to listen to it and who are just wanting to listen to the gossip and the lower vibrational energy that's out there. And, I'm really feeling that what I'm saying here is really, really important. So if you can help me to share it and you trust that it's coming from the right place, then thank you. I honour you if you can see who I really am, because I can see who you really are. And even if you're one of the people that have been attacking me over the last 3-4 days, I'm still going to say, through it all, I do see who you really are. That doesn't mean necessarily that I want to see you in my face in that energy of attack, which is why sometimes, unfortunately, you've got to go to the cooling off space, okay? And there are people I have to say goodbye to who can't abide by the code that I'm trying to live my life by. That's the truth of it. I'm trying to live my life by this code. And so therefore, when people come at me with a lower frequency energy, I don't have to accept that, but it doesn't mean I'm rejecting you as a person. It means I'm rejecting your behavior. Okay, what did Christ say? He said, love the sinner, but not the sin. Do you know, this year, as you might know, I am creating a Christ consciousness deck with Jane Delaford Taylor. We've probably done about 5. She's done 5 pieces of art for me so far. There's going to be 55 paintings, original paintings, to go into this deck. I'm writing all of the channeled messages to go with it. It was, I hope Jane doesn't mind me saying it, I know she had a block before she started it, resistance, not block, resistance. And I had a huge block and resistance. And it was because the task felt so great. It felt so great. And some days, guys, I almost feel quite emotional saying this. I am going to get emotional. It feels like it's a task that's almost too big. Because we're going against the grain. And you might say, what are you going on about? You know, the Bible and Christ and the New Testament and the church has been around for 2,000 years. And there are many people within the church, there are many people within Christianity that do walk the talk, and I see them. But there are so many people that say they're for Christ, and they behave in ways that are so opposite to that. And it actually genuinely breaks my heart. Because I passionately care about it, and I think that I'm actually coming to the conclusion, I think I'm one of the people on this planet, and you are some of them, that we're here for our final time. I've said before, I know I'm going to come back, but it's not that I don't want to come back. I actually feel this could be a final throw of the dice for me. The stakes are really, really high. And I want myself to get it, and I want as many people to get it as I can help to bring us up to the level we need to be. It's that important. It's that important, guys. So actually, that's what upsets me. When people can't, it's not my job to make anybody get it. You can't make anybody get it. What you can do is just present the right material and the information to give them the opportunity to. And it could be that, like Dolores Cannon, I'm not saying I'm as good as Dolores Cannon. I'm not saying that. Don't get triggered by that. I'm just saying she's been dead quite a while now. People still watch her work. She's like a little portal for people. Maybe that's what I'm trying to be. You can choose to go through or not to this higher frequency, but I'm going to try and get you there. If you want to go there, it's your choice. It's always your choice. So yeah, the resistance and the block, and I do need some positive vibes to get this deck out there, because it's not that I haven't got a publisher. I have got a publisher for it. I need energy for it, yeah, but it's actually, I hadn't appreciated what we were starting with this Christ deck, because this is about helping people to really do it. And we're coming up against we're being shown the resistance to wanting to really, truly live as Christ taught us, which is to love your neighbour as yourself. Do unto others as you would be done to. Okay. Right, there's an alarm going off there. Let's wait for that to go, and then I'm going to read the 5D code. This isn't all of it. This is just something I wrote a few years ago. This is a channeling from Archangel Metatron that I wrote in response to what is fifth dimensional consciousness. Is it something that you acquire, wake up with, etc.? This is my answer. To embody 5D means living from the heart, with the heart's own intelligence, sensitivity, and loving knowing. It is about letting go of control and avert expressions of ego. It is about seeing all as equal and not placing yourself above the next man. It is about turning away from drama and feeling the freedom of seeing through new eyes, the higher self. It's about realizing that no one can truly take your power away but yourself. It is realizing the universe is a place of abundance, not scarcity. It's about looking after yourself, but also looking after others. It's about love and wisdom combined into the most powerful energy you can hold in your physical body. It's about remembering that you are made of light, not dense matter that is unconscious and unresponsive to what you tell it or how you treat it. It is seeing the divine in everyone and everything. It is non-judgment. It is about the present moment and forgiving the past. It is about loving detachment rather than clinging on for dear life because you are the only one who can save someone or something. Empower others by showing that power. It is about seeing beauty in a world of darkness. It is about loving the darkness as well as the light. It is realizing that you too are divine and we are all masters of our own destiny, not slaves to the machine. 5D is abundance for all, balance, harmony, light, and remembering that as fact, even in your most challenging moments. You can look to the star within you and let that be your guide, or you can keep your eyes firmly fixed to the ground and the place that you are already in. 5D is flowing, fluid. There may be many times that you want to get off the ride, but you won't. Once tasted, you stay in the vibration whilst increasingly noticing the differences around you from those staying in 3D world of polar opposites. It's your journey, it's your vibration, it's your choice. Which way will it be? So I wrote that in 2016, 4 years ago. And it's still very relevant, isn't it? How much have we nudged ourselves along the path since then? I hope we've nudged ourselves a few little places along. Can you hear the child laughing? Yeah. I think they're laughing. That's interesting. I tried to record this video earlier today and my battery didn't have enough life in it actually, and there was a child crying and I'm ending it with a child laughing. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Okay, we haven't got Bella barking. She must be asleep. Keep well. Anyone that's struggling, know that we're here with you. This channel is about trying to help you to be the best you can be. And so, yeah, there are some high standards expected, but it's worth it because we're not here to play. We're here to win this race and to enjoy the journey as much as possible and to elevate our consciousness as much as we can, because we know truly that is what actually helps the wider world as well. Much love, guys. Have a good rest of Sunday and then into next week. It's lunchtime here. I'll upload this and get on with my day. Take care of yourselves. Love you all. Thank you for your support. Please like and share. Okay, bye.